Hi, Mark here. It's Thursday, May the 28th, 9:57 a.m. Eastern, 1:57 p.m. GMT. US session well underway into the afternoon portion of the European session. Let's have a look at the US dollar performance. Very interesting if we look at this chart. US dollar started strong earlier and then following weaker below consensus data out of the US PCE GDP numbers, the US dollar gave up the gains and weakened and now looking to fight its way back. I've got resistance at 99.49. I've got support at 99.06. So 99 support did hold. The US dollar buyers have bounced back off that support level. Small red candlestick for now. So dollar has weakened that little bit. We'll see during the rest of the US session whether buyers do continue this bounce and get back up to the resistance level, or if we're going to see US dollar weakness and sellers look down below the 99 level. Let's have a look at the majors. Euro US, and there you see has been in a strong downtrend, selling euro, buying US, strong US dollar. Started that way again today. There's support, but has bounced back the euro. US dollar given up those gains. Now looking at weak US dollar. I've got support at 115.83. I've got resistance at 116.39. And at this stage, still euro has strengthened against the US dollar. If that can continue and we continue to see US dollar weakness, buyers will look up at that resistance level. If we get a turnaround and back to US dollar strength, sellers will look down at the 115.83 support level. Let's have a look at the pound. A similar situation here. To start with, selling pound, buying US dollar strength. I got support at 133.67. Then we got the bounce, the turnaround from strong to weak US dollar. And now sitting, you can see small red candlestick. If we get a continuation of pound strengthening against the US and US dollar weakness, red will turn to green and buyers will look up at this resistance level or higher. If we get a continuation of dollar strength, sellers will look to sell pound, buy US, and look back down at the 133.67 support level. US dollar against the yen. And there you see the strong uptrend that the US has been in against the yen. And then the turnaround like we saw on the other majors earlier this morning after the US data, and now US dollar fighting its way back again. I've got support at 159.30. I've got resistance at 159.68. If US dollar strength does continue and this rebound does continue, the red candlestick will go to green and buyers will be looking up at this resistance level. If we see US dollar weakness, sellers will look to retest this 159.30 support level. US dollar against the Canadian. There you can see small green candlestick at US dollar strengthening against the Canadian. Started off that way early. I got resistance at 138.69. Then we got the turnaround from strong to weak US dollar, created support at 138.38. And now we got the US dollar fighting back again. Been in a strong uptrend this whole month, the US against the Canadian. Buyers of US, sellers of Canadian will be looking up at this resistance, retest this level. If we see US dollar weakness, selling US and buying Canadian, sellers will look down at the 138.38 support level. It's interesting what we've seen today. We've had strong US dollar pretty much the whole week, even into today through the early Asian European session, US dollar strength, and then a turnaround, a bounce. US dollar gave up those gains earlier this morning at the start of the US session, following weak US data, numbers below consensus. So we saw US dollar give up those gains and now busy fighting its way back. We'll see during the US session if we get a resumption of US dollar strength or if US dollar weak or if it's back to US dollar weakness. We've got our resistance and support levels to work with. Good trading, and I'll see you at the end of the day.